And welcome back to this new episode of podcasting that I'm trying to do, or new podcasting I'm trying to do. Again, Spicy Sports with Sam Cerrone, coming to you live from Portland, Oregon. It's 4 o'clock on the West Coast, 7 o'clock back east. Thank you so much for listening. Really appreciate it. As always, we have a lot to talk about. It's funny. The Champions League is not... and I was listening to an interview, I think, with Bill Simmons and Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah was on Bill Simmons' podcast, I think, a couple days ago. And he's talking about how the U.S. really isn't into the Champions League because you see the times that they're on TV, and he makes a good point. If you are on the East Coast, they're on at typically about 3 o'clock, 2:30 in the afternoon, whereas here on the West Coast, they're on at like 11:30 noon during the week, which really isn't favorable for a lot of people who like soccer in America. I mean, it's tough. You can either take a long lunch break if you can. Otherwise, you're stuck, watching the highlights or listening to audio like me, and just trying to catch any piece of the game that you can. But if you had watched the last 2 days of Champions League, I think this has to be one of the better quarterfinals that you've probably seen, heard, whatever, in recent memory. I think the teams that you'd expect to advance, half of them did, and the other half didn't. And before going into this into the semifinals, you would think, okay, this is going to be pretty much chalk, like the NCAA tournament. You think the one seeds are just going to advance, the top teams are going to move on, just because in soccer, there's not really a level of balance of play, especially with the amount of money people like to spend on these. Like Manchester City, that has gotten Pep Guardiola as manager, have spent a total of £547.3 million. And in the last 2 transfer windows, Tottenham has spent $0. And if I were to tell you that Tottenham came out on top today, you'd be like, you're ridiculous. If I were to tell you yesterday that Ajax, a team of young talent that is going to get swept up because that's the nature of soccer these days, upset Juventus and Cristiano Ronaldo, you'd think I'm ridiculous. But that's what happened in the last couple of days. You saw the level of potential that could be Ajax and the level of Dutch football that we've missed the last couple of seasons. It's been a while since a team in the Netherlands has advanced to the semifinals of this competition. It's the last time since 1997. So it's been quite a while, right? And for Ajax, there's a lot of talent that you could look at and say, okay, this is why they won. But the reason why they won is because they're a team. And I think that's what people forget nowadays, is that you can have all the superstar talent you want. You can have the depth that Manchester City has, or and blow the money that they do, or get the big name talent like Cristiano Ronaldo, move him to a top tier squad like Juventus, a team who has gotten to the stage of the Champions League the last couple seasons, and go on and win it. But the truth is, it doesn't always work that way, and that's what I love about sports. The team that you expect to come out on top sometimes doesn't. And in Europe's competition of the top European teams, this competition for sure shows that. Granted, Real Madrid has won the last couple of seasons, but a lot of it had to do with the level of coaching by Zinedine Zidane. And it's clear to me now that coaching, especially at this stage, is just as valuable as the starting 11 that you put out on the field. You look at Tottenham today. They have no Harry Kane. And they're going up against a Manchester City squad that has 5 or 6 players, maybe more, that could start at other clubs, not just in England, but around the world. And yet, the team who has not spent a dime, again, as in the last 2 transfer windows, is now in the semifinals of the Champions League, taking on Dutch's best European power, at least right now, in Ajax. And Ajax has their own competition, too. They're competing in the Dutch league to try to win it this year, and it's neck and neck over there. It's not something that's hey, they're coasting in that league like Paris Saint-Germain in France or Juventus in Italy. Like, they have real competition. And that's where I think the best teams shine. If you have serious competition in your league, it's going to be tough. And I'm not saying that Manchester City doesn't. Obviously, they're competing with Liverpool, and now they're going to put all their eggs in the basket to win the English Premier League this season. But trying to balance that workload is tough, especially season in and season out. When you have to bring in new talent, when you have to bring in players that can play at a high level, especially if you want to go late in this competition. But again, coaching matters. A top manager matters. And that's, again, what we found out today with Manchester City and Tottenham. Now Mauricio Pochettino, you have to tell me, you can't tell me, look, he doesn't win the big games. Look, he doesn't have any hardware because Manchester City's been dominating the EPL. Chelsea's been dominating. Even Leicester City got lucky and won one. But this is Pochettino's best coaching job yet. I mean, you look at the starting 11 that he had to put out there against this daunted Manchester City squad. He had started Lucas Moura, which I wrote earlier in a piece that you can check out on the Spicy Sports with Sam, WordPress.com. Check that out. And then and Moura doesn't do the best. He does okay. And then you bring in Fernando Llorente. Sung Heung-min, who is South Korea's best player, scores 2 goals in the first couple minutes. There was 5 goals in the first 24 minutes of the game. That's insane. It was just back and forth. And a buddy of mine texted me. He's like, "Hey, are you checking out the game?" I was in a meeting, and I was like, "No, I don't know what's going on." And I pull my phone out under the desk and just kind of look at the score, and it's 3-2, 3-2 Manchester City. And you think, look, this is over. There's no way that Tottenham, a team who has been ridiculed by many as being a second-tier team in the EPL for so long, but they've been so consistent last couple seasons. They've been so good. They've always been in the top 4, and they're more than likely to go back there again. Manchester City and Liverpool 1 and 2 are almost a lock at this point, so it's really 4 teams fighting for the last 2 spots, and I think Tottenham can get one of them. But the level of talent, I mean, it's there, but the lack of depth, as much as Manchester City has. Like, look at the players that Manchester City had on the bench today. You had Leroy Sané, you had Fernandinho, Nicolas Otamendi, John Stones, Riyad Mahrez, Gabriel Jesus, who didn't even play. Are you kidding me? All those players. And you still couldn't get it done. Still couldn't get it done, which amazes me, because you think if you have the talent that you're going to go on and advance. It doesn't work that way. Coaching matters. Again, it might not matter in other sports as much, but especially when you have 38 grueling games, at least 38 games this season, then you have your domestic cup competition, your league cup competition, and then you have the Champions League or other European competition for most top teams. So that's 4 competitions that they're trying to win every season, and it's hard to even get one. And for Tottenham, I mean, look, to put all the eggs into this basket, this makes sense. I mean, they have an opportunity. They play Ajax in the next round, which, again, we'll talk about in a second. And they're not a team to sleep over, but they have the opportunity to get to a Champions League final, to play in Madrid. For Tottenham to get some recognition on the world stage that really hasn't happened in a long time, I don't think. Yes, they have world-class players, sure. I mean, Harry Kane, obviously, but now he's injured. Hugo Lloris, who won the World Cup with France. Kieran Trippier, who did well with England in the World Cup. Christian Eriksen, who might be on the move to Real Madrid, ironically. And Sung Heung-min, who put the team on his back in this series and took them to the win. Also, VAR also helped, I would say, in these legs. I mean, VAR was a crucial component in the Juventus Ajax series. It was a crucial component in this series with Manchester City and Tottenham. VAR works when you know how to use it. And I think as long as the refs continue to make the right calls, people are going to be fine with this. Because the replays show time and time again of blatant errors that could have been corrected by this issue in years past. And now they have the technology. They have the ability to do this, and I don't know why more leagues, if not all leagues, should implement this. The MLS has implemented it. And granted, the Portland Timbers were screwed on it over the weekend against FC Dallas. But in general, this works. So I mean, kudos to Tottenham. I mean, you can't ask for a better story than this team. This team was dead and buried. They were actually playing in the same group as Barcelona and Inter Milan, and they came out on top, or at least in second, enough to advance out of the group. Then they dismantled a Borussia Dortmund team that really is on the down right now since then. And now they dismantled a Manchester City team that a lot of questions are going to be asked about what? Coaching. You give Pep Guardiola all the players he wants, still can't get it done. Couldn't do it at Bayern Munich. Now couldn't get it done at Manchester City. The only time he's ever had the opportunity to get it done is with Barcelona, and obviously you have an all-generational talent in Lionel Messi to help him get there. I think that solves, I would say, 90% of your issues. That covers a lot of mistakes. So for Pep, this is a huge knock against him. Look, he's won a Champions League. That's great. Can you do it elsewhere in other leagues? He's had the opportunity in Germany and now England at top clubs that continue to win their domestic league, no problem. But when it comes to European competition, he simply doesn't have it, at least right now. And so that's a big ask. I mean, look, it's hard to win all these competitions. They won their Carabao Cup against Chelsea on penalty kicks, which was ridiculous. That was crazy. And I believe they're still in the FA Cup. They still have that to play for. And now they're knocked out of the Champions League, so all they have is the domestic treble with the league to play for against the Liverpool team that is now even more excited. And now they have to balance their schedule. So we'll see where that tips to, because can Liverpool rest their side? Because they have a huge game with Barcelona ahead of them. That's not going to be an easy game, easy set of matches at all. It'll be interesting to see, of course, how Philippe Coutinho gets that warm reception, sarcasm, at Liverpool. And I think this is as exciting, I would say, of matchups that we could have potentially gotten. The better teams deserve to go through. And that's at the end of the day what matters. Especially in particular with Ajax, you can't tell me that the way they played, and if you watch their passing, they are so comfortable. They're so young, yet they're so comfortable with each other, and they have the confidence to say, you know what, I can do this. I can get this done. Which is pretty incredible, if you ask me. I think for me, it's always nice to root for an underdog story, and for two